So today in my life, my acute care nurse practitioner degree is not a professional degree anymore. And it's giving, give me my money back. I commented this on another video, but it's giving, relieve my loans for my fake degree, please. And I'm not kidding. I'm at a point now where I'm like, if it's not a professional degree, if it's not going to be recognized, if we're not going to bring more people in, if when you go to surgery, you're not likely to have a CRNA to do your anesthesia, if when you go to a clinic or an urgent care, you're not likely to have an advanced practice provider like an MP or a PA treat you, I'm giving my money back. And let me be free. That is all.
So a lot of people are mad on here about the Department of Education changing a lot of degrees from professional degrees to general degrees. A lot of these degrees include things like nursing, engineering masters, business master's degrees. I have a business master's degree myself, and speech language pathologist and other things like that. A lot of people are upset because I think they're under the assumption that this means that our degrees are not professional or they just demean the value of our degrees. And I had to look into this, and it's not that at all. So basically, they just changed the classification of our degree from a professional degree to a general graduate. So now to be considered a professional degree, it has to be a doctoral level program or require 6 years of schooling, and a lot of these degrees don't, hence why the classification has been changed. And this is an attempt to help student loan costs and get colleges to lower the cost of schooling. So basically, what the outcome means for us is that there's going to be less money to borrow. So less federal student loans starting July 2026. I think they're capping the amount of money people can borrow, and there's going to be less grad plus loans. So if you rely on student loans, I guess this is bad news for you. But a lot of us who have already graduated, it doesn't really mean anything.
There are huge changes taking place.
So basically what they're trying to tell you is, because this is why I say that people that are educated doesn't necessarily mean that you're smart, right? A lot of people pass the classes, a lot of people get the degrees, a lot of people get the jobs, but it doesn't necessarily translate into real world understanding and learning how to think for yourself. And so when we have these conversations, I already knew immediately once I seen the changes, before I even started doing the research, and I did another video on this, but it's so funny because I still see women complaining about the classification of their degree. Listen, your degree is for you to get a job, nothing more, but it doesn't teach you how to think. The whole idea of it is to change how people are over borrowing for student loans for things that don't translate. So if it doesn't move into making more money, then you should not be going into it to try to get a degree for it, or at the very least, you should not be borrowing $100,000, $200,000 a year. If you are an anesthesiologist, right? If you're a spine surgeon or a brain surgeon or something like that, if you are getting a doctoral or going into a doctoral program to get a doctorate in something that is going to translate or further your career, and you make a significant amount of money, then it makes sense for you to be able to borrow. But to address the student loan crisis so that we don't have another situation where we have a president promising you that he's going to forgive your student loans because of self-inflicted wounds. So now you have to get more creative. Either you're going to have to work a job, or you're going to have to go to community college first, or you're going to have to make some other adjustment for how much you are borrowing to go into these professional degrees so that you can justify actually getting it and going into the field of study that you believe you need. It's teachers that are walking around with $200,000 in student loans, and it was a crisis. So to say that the government shouldn't do anything about it, what they're doing is just reclassifying how much you can borrow, and they're putting spending caps on issuing loans just based off of the fact that you're in school. This is a very simple thing that should not be complicated, but you see people crashing out all over the internet for it.
A lot of us who have already graduated, it doesn't really mean anything.
Stupid.
There are huge changes taking place with the Department of Education, and so many people it's a very polarized conversation, and people are giving their opinions on it. But I want to share some facts about what exactly is happening with changes and the difference that is being labeled professional versus non-professional degrees. I don't think people have the full picture, and so I'm going to share some facts about what's really happening here. The first thing to note is that these newly proposed classifications are largely based on cost of attendance and the ability to pay the loans back. So if you are now going to be classified, if you're a graduate level student, that's a non-professional degree. So it doesn't mean that it is diminishing the hard work that you've done. It is just a classification for the purpose of determining loan caps. If you are in a degree field that is beyond that, that's now being classified as a professional degree, I'm going to list what these are. Graduate level or non-professional degrees would be nursing, allied health, PT, OT, PA, social work, etc. Fields that will be classified as professional degree are as follows. You have pharmacy, dentistry, veterinarian practice, chiropractic, law, medicine, MD, optometry, osteopathic medicine, podiatry, theology, plus clinical psychology. Now, there's an obvious factor here that immediately stood out to me. It is the earning potential. So the degrees that are going to be graduate level or non-professional degrees, remember, this is all about loan caps. The federal government is trying to figure out how to reduce the burden of student loans. Why? Because we have a student loan crisis in this country. We have a ton of people in this country who are not able to safely pay back their loans. They are defaulting on their loans. You can't get rid of the student loan off of your credit. So this is a major burden on U.S. citizens who have taken out money for higher education. And what has happened is that although they're making a living wage, the interest rates are so high and so costly that they cannot afford to live comfortably and pay their loans back.
So that then feeds into the affordability crisis that people don't want to have a conversation about. People are talking about they can't afford it, they make this so much money, but it's the self-inflicted wounds that they're not adding into that conversation because they took out a bunch of student loans that they couldn't pay back. And they knew what they were doing when they did it, but they didn't think about it, and they thought that the loans was going to be forgiven based off of paying it back for 10 years and working for the federal government and doing an income-based repayment. But now you got to stand on your own, and you have to own the fact that you became a social worker, you took out $150,000 of student loans, and that was irresponsible. So the federal government is now proactively taking steps based off of learned experiences and saying, hey, we need to put a cap on this, we need to put a cap on that. It doesn't mean that we don't need it, it doesn't mean that you're not valuable, but if you are going to go into this, your earning potential is this is where the cap is going to be, and I support it 100%. Shout out to Trump and the Department of Education.
In most cases, especially with all of the various changes that happen with loan repayment. And although a lot of people were upset that they're not income-based programs anymore, it is just kicking the can down the road. Although in the immediate you're able to pay less, your interest is literally a death trap. And so it was never going to help either way. It's just a bad situation. And what's happened is you have some people who are saying, well, you should just pay back your loan. You signed it. You're an adult. Yes. Contractually, absolutely, it is your obligation. On the other end of that, the empathetic piece is that a lot of these students are first-time college students who were sold this idea that you must attend college, you must attend university, and all that they did not have the economic means to pay for college, and so many of them didn't even have parents to walk them through this process. I can't tell you, when I went to sign up for school, every single student walked into the financial aid office alone.
Okay. My parents let me fly. And I was 100% responsible for everything once I got to college. And they did not walk me through it. They didn't do my FAFSA. I did that. They did not enroll me. They did not help me apply for school. I did that. And I realized very early and very quickly that it made no sense whatsoever. And I went and got a job. And then I wound up going to community college later on. So I'm not sure if everybody is situationally aware, is as situationally aware as I was, but I vividly remember as an 18-year-old that I knew exactly what I was signing up for when I signed up for it. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Always leaving a link back to the content creators because it's the right thing to do. Regardless of whether I agree or not, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm holler at you guys later. Peace.